Is bringing mirrorless features into existing DSLRs the only way to save DSLRs? Well, this is what Nikon seems to have done with their latest release, the Nikon D780, and we're going to talk about that today. Hello, I'm Ayan Sengupta and welcome back to my channel Ayan Sengupta Travel and Photography. Before we get started on the D780, it would be a good idea to subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon beside that so that you get notified about my future videos. Now that you have done that, let's get started. Well, as you guys know, the D750 is already 5 years old and it was high time that Nikon brought in a replacement for it. The D780 can be best described as something if the D750 and the Nikon Z6 had a baby, then it would probably be D780. Since Nikon has kept in the true form of a DSLR but has brought in some mirrorless features from the Z6 into the D780. As far as the D780 is concerned, since some features from the Z6 mirrorless camera have been brought into the D780, you would see some serious update as far as the D780's live view and video specs are concerned. There have been updates in other areas as well, and we're going to talk about that a little later. For now, let's take a look at the major highlights about the Nikon D780. So the Nikon D780 is built around a completely new 24.5 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor. But when I say new, it is new for a DSLR because this sensor has already been used in the Nikon Z6 mirrorless camera. But the coolest feature, the most important feature and the feature that I like about the camera is its autofocus point distribution. When you are shooting from the viewfinder, you get 51 autofocus points, which is the same as the D750, but shift to live view and the camera becomes mirrorless and the autofocus point count increases to 273, covering almost 90% of the screen, which I think would attract a lot of people towards this camera. But that's not it. You can also expect overall improvement in autofocus speed and accuracy of the D780, since the autofocus algorithm that the D780 works on has been brought from the flagship full-frame Nikon D5. When it comes to shooting speed, the D780 gets a shooting speed of 7 frames per second, which is slightly higher compared to the 6.5 frames per second that we got in the D750. But here again there's a difference. When you're shooting from the viewfinder, the shooting speed is 7 frames per second, but switch to live view and the shooting speed increases to 12 frames per second, which is again a really cool feature about this camera. Another extremely important feature of the Nikon D780, which I think will particularly come in handy for landscape photographers and photographers who like to shoot long exposures, is the introduction of something that Nikon is calling selectable manual mode, wherein beyond 30 seconds of exposure, you can set the shutter speed without going into a bulb mode. For instance, you can set from 1 minute to 15 minutes without going into a bulb mode and without the use of any remote control. This would extremely help landscape photographers shooting those long exposures and probably curtail the use of external remote control to a great extent. As far as the LCD screen is concerned, the screen is a tiltable one, which you got in 750. That is, it tilts up and down but not sideways. The only addition here is the addition of the touchscreen. Low light capability of the D780 is something which also should be spoken about. The native ISO range of the D780 has been increased to 51,200, which can further be expanded to 2,04,800. And it is being said that at high ISO ranges, the camera produces relatively low noise images. So it is definitely a good thing for astrophotographers and people who like to shoot nightscapes, since they shoot in low light conditions, and if the camera produces relatively clean images, it is always a positive thing. On the video front, the D780 gets some serious updates, and most of them have been brought forward from the Nikon Z6. It can shoot 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second with zero crop factor, and that is important. And for ultra smooth slow motion videos, you can also bump up the FPS to 120 frames per second and shoot at 1080 pixels. On the video front, you also get 10-bit output with N-Log 5, which sort of raises the bar kind of for video functionality and flexibility during post-production. Sort of crossbreeding a DSLR and a mirrorless might seem like a wacky idea to some people, but I think it is an extremely smart move on Nikon's part. They have understood my market dynamics today. DSLRs are not going anywhere in the short term. So what they have done is they are bringing in some mirrorless features to DSLRs to attract more and more people, which I think will work. And my prediction for the D780 is that it would be as much a success as the D750 was, which was extremely popular, and it would be even bigger if they price it correctly. And I think more and more companies will follow this line, that you would see more crossover technologies being brought to sort of DSLRs from mirrorless. So that's it from me. If you like the video, do give it a thumbs up. Do leave your comment in the comment section, and do subscribe to my channel. And while you're subscribing, please press the bell icon so that you get notified about my future videos. Till the next time,